Hello, I'm Renee Miller.
I'm Kent.
Today we're going to be talking about how we got into this this pathway, this business of channeling and receiving information from our spiritual guides and passing that on to you, because we've done a previous video on it many years ago and it's probably been lost to time. Yes. So Kent, would you like to start?
Well, I met Renee in 1997 after knowing her a little bit for approximately 2 weeks. I told her that I had gone through cancer 1979 to about 82, 83. And I was in the midst of writing a book. And in this book, there were certain things. I couldn't remember what they were, but there were certain things that pertained to her. And when I found the writings, I would call her and let her know. And I was a widower at the time that I met her. So when I called her in the book that I had begun writing more than 10 years before, I had in that book, there were two sisters, one named Jen and one named Renee. And they were living with their grandmother, whose name was Lori. And in the book, I was a firefighter responding to a smoke in the house fire, very ornate house, and got there and took care of the incident. And I was admiring the girl called Renee then. Well, when I found out they lived on Ashley Lane. The house was on Ashley Lane. And the grandmother was showing me around the house. And there was a picture in the den, a big picture. And that person, the name of the picture was Brandon. Well, come to find out, Renee, that's my wife's name now. Her son name is Brandon.
In real life.
Daughter's name is Ashley, which was the street name. And the grandmother's name was Lori, which is her mother's name. And this is more than 10 years before I even met her.
Plus, you also, in the book, had that my sun sign was Leo, which is my sun sign.
Yes. And there were so many incidences in the book and her real life. It was amazing that I had gotten such a thing.
This book that he had started writing back in the 80s was actually before those children were born. And he had only 3 chapters written in pencil. So he never finished the book, but it had so many connections to my life when we met. And then we thought it was rather strange at the time, but we were on a completely different path. And so we didn't really make that metaphysical connection, or that he was channeling. It was all not only foreign to us at that time, but it was not even something that we considered. And it wasn't until 2006 when the last child, after we had gotten married, and the last child had graduated from high school and moved out, and we were empty nesters, and we were a couple by ourselves for the first time. And I was trying to find things for us to do. And so we started out, I convinced him to go to yoga because I had taken a yoga class previously, but it didn't really work out for Kent because he was 6'4", and he just ended up being a class clown and disturbing the class, but he really liked the meditation. So we had agreed we wouldn't continue with the class. He would continue with the meditation. I would continue with the yoga exercises, but we never followed through. And so several months later, I was thinking, I need to shed a few pounds. I'm a nurse. I don't know. I know how to eat. I just need some willpower. And so I started looking for a hypnotherapist to help with that, and ended up finding a hypnotherapist where, you go through the smoking cessation, the weight loss, the this and that. But at the very end of that list was past life regression. And so the weight loss got thrown out the door, and I convinced Kent to go to this hypnotherapist for past life regressions for both of us. But it was really not very successful, and I was having a little pity party because of the money we had spent and didn't produce anything. But afterward, Kent started talking to the hypnotherapist. And you want to explain that? That conversation?
When I was a lot younger, I was about 20, 21, somewhere around there. And I used to lived in an apartment complex, and we had a person there that would put us under hypnosis, and we'd play the hypnosis game, typical hypnosis games, etc. The person that did the hypnosis, she was about 15 years older than me.
And what was her name?
Edie Rubino.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I hadn't seen her many years. And the guy at the
hypnotherapist that we went to see.
Said, "Oh, I know Edie. I meet with her about once a week." And I said, "Well, tell her I'd like to know what she's doing." And he called her, and she said, "I don't know anybody by that name."
She had completely forgotten.
She'd completely forgotten. And he said, well, he had his wife with him. And from there,
this hypnotherapist got Kent back in touch with Edie. And eventually I was brought in because at first my work schedule didn't coincide with her schedule. And after the three of us met for the first time, we sat in Starbucks talking for quite a few hours. And then I suggested we move to a restaurant to get some lunch. And when we sat down, we ordered our food, Edie proceeded to tell us that she knew a psychic, and his name was Ken, and that she had known him for some time, but only recently asked him for a reading for the first time, which was about 3 months prior. And he said, sure, give me a day, I'll call you tomorrow and tell you what I get. So he calls her back the next day and he says, in about 3 months, you will meet 2 men in the vicinity of Thornton Road across from the Elks Lodge. And this was a city that we didn't live in, but we worked in. That was Stockton, California. And that this one man would be an instant connection. Well, she said she was going through her file cabinet that morning and she found the notes that she had written from this reading that she had from her friend Ken, the psychic. And she realized that it had been almost exactly 3 months, and Kent was that instant connection. And she knew the hypnotherapist that we went to see. And his office was on Thornton Road across from the Elks Lodge. And so we thought, wow, that's really strange. Well, as soon as she finished telling us a story, in walks Ken, the psychic. And he walks behind Edie and she's signaling to us, that's him, that's him. From that moment on, we had just one serendipitous event happening after another. And at that time, we were going to a Baptist church. And Kent was I call him very much Baptist at that time. I didn't grow up with a religious family, but I had converted to Catholicism in a first marriage and then started going to Baptist church after Kent and I got married. So what happened was Edie was going to Unity Church, and she was very much into the metaphysical world and psychic phenomenon. And she recognized.
Yeah, we weren't into that.
We didn't recognize what was happening, but she did. And she told us, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. But she didn't tell us what she was going to be doing to get to the bottom of it. And so she did some research and she called a fairly well-known psychic in another state and had a reading done on over the phone. So Edie comes back to us some days later and she tells us that she had this reading done by this psychic, and the psychic told her, this man you're asking about, he has the ability through deep meditation to tap into source, and he is going to be downloading both ancient information and new information. And the 3 of you are going to be teaching, traveling, and lecturing. So when she told us this, we were just absolutely flabbergasted. For one, we didn't know what source meant.
No,
Kent said,
I still had a full-time job.
Well, we both did.
Yeah, we both did. We couldn't just travel.
Yeah.
And do the source thing, we thought.
Well, and we didn't even know what source meant, but Kent says, well, I don't know how to meditate. And so we kind of just blew it off. And then every time we met Edie, which was about once a week at that time, and the subject would come up and we would make a joke about it, laugh it off until the next time we met. And this continued on for about a month, until which we finally started thinking, well, what if this psychic was right? And Kent says, well, I don't know how to meditate. But Edie said, I know, I'm a hypnotherapist. How about if I use hypnosis to get you into a meditative state, but not as deep as a hypnotic state, and see what happens. And so we thought, okay, that sounds like a good plan. So she made up a visual, and she was reading through this visual. We tried it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
Nothing happened. And one day we were at home and we were just doing housework, and Kent says, Renee, sit down. I want you to write something down for me. So I'm sitting at the dining room table with pen and paper, and he's standing behind me dictating to me, and it's a whole new visual. And that visual was imagining himself sitting down in a recliner, and that recliner moving into an elevator. And he was to watch the button that had the floor number in it and watch it as the numbers went up and corresponding to the floors going up.
Yeah, which was opposite of what Edie was doing. Edie was trying to take me
downstairs.
Mm-hmm. And I said, no,
and so we took these notes that I had written down from Kent's dictation to Edie the next time that we saw her. And so the very first time that she read from this script, this visual of him sitting in a recliner, moving into an elevator and going up, Kent started hearing a voice, and he started having visions. And so then what was one of the first things that you heard?
The first thing that I was told was I was shown 7 doors. And they said, sit down in front of the 7th door, the middle door. Don't say anything. Just sit there and watch. And I sat down, and the door opened, and all behind the whole door is like a television screen that doesn't have the television, but it's on with thousands of pixels, or millions of pixels. And it said, great, great, great. And then came out of it. And I said, I don't make any sense of this. And then when I went in again, they said, we are not going to speak with you because you are not humble. Well, I was not humble at the time.
He was deputy fire marshal at the time, and he kind of wielded some power, and he was a little bit full of himself, and they weren't going to talk to him until he humbleized himself.
I had to learn how to become humble.
And how did you do that?
I had to release my total ego and bequeath myself, my soul, to the Creator. But I had to release everything, my total self, my total ego. I had to release it. And
at one point you were saying that you would kneel down, you would bow down.
Yes, I humbled myself before the Creator, in front of the Creator, bow down before the Creator, and admit that the Creator was all that is, all that was, and all that will be.
So one of the first subjects that Kent started receiving once he started hearing this mental communication was that there were many changes coming. There were changes for Earth. There were changes for man. And
I started getting many, many things. And one of the main things that I had gotten was go to the land of the Hopi. And we didn't know where that was.
It didn't come across that way, though. It came across as there were a number of cities in Colorado,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then there was Third Mesa, and
Right.
we didn't understand
what was Third Mesa?
what the Third Mesa was about.
In,
And
in Arizona, it said. It wasn't in Colorado. Third Mesa was in Arizona.
I don't think we even were told it was in Arizona. So we went on this months-long search for all these towns and areas. One area was Route 79, start here. Well, that was really obscure because we're talking about, it ended up being a really short road in Colorado. But Kent called me at work one day and he said, I think it was Route 79 you found.
Yeah, it was very short.
It was, yeah. And so we started realizing that they were taking us on a trip because all of these cities kind of, you could connect the dots and make it a road trip.
Yeah, so over from that point on,
We should probably tell them about the Third Mesa though, because
well,
we finally realized on the map through searching the map over this quite a long period of time, we found Third Mesa and it turned out to be the Hopi Reservation.
we were given many towns in Colorado that we had to travel through. And then we had to find out why we were in those particular towns. And this was on a journey of unknown to us, but we were guided by the whole thing through Colorado and then down
On to the
On-
Third Mesa.
yeah, onto the Third Mesa in the Navajo country, excuse me, in the Hopi country that is surrounded by Navajo.
Yeah. But the thing is that we were given a message to take to them. And then later on, we delivered other messages to
Yeah.
other native
And we had to
tribes.
find out why we were there.
Mhm. So after that, we started receiving lessons, guidance, personal guidance. The guides would help us understand different situations we were presented with.
Yeah.
And then they would give us predictions for the future.
In different areas, basically. Give us predictions on not only of the world itself, but of different areas that we were in.
And then, the need to prepare for earth changes, mentally, physically,
Yeah,
prepare with
we made
food, water.
videos, right? We already made videos of all these
Mhm.
different predictions, but there's a lot more that we haven't said in videos that as the time draws near and is drawing near very soon, we will give more of the predictions. Not to scare you, but to inform you.
Yeah, and all of this is to understand why this is happening and to prepare for it so we can write it out. So it was about, I guess, around 2015 when we were told to go ahead and start putting together a book out of the information that we had received. And we did do that, published it in 2016. And then we ended up republishing it again later on Amazon.
We put them on Amazon, and we took many road trips to give the book out, to introduce those that showed some inkling of what is going on in the world. They have an intuition. So with all that, and the journey continues to today, and I feel intuitiveness. I've experienced many intuitive experiences through two different people throughout the years that I've been doing this, and it was amazing.
Why don't you explain what you're talking about?
Well, when we stay in a hotel, we'd be sitting for breakfast, and I'd be told, go tell this person a particular
Message.
message, and I would go, oh, I don't even know this person. Sorry, they need to know. And we would go tell them, and they would act surprised, but they would accept the message.
They would also confirm it too.
Again, confirm the message. And that happened many times over and over.
So now things are starting to change. The beginning of the changes have begun, although we can't see the manifestation of that in the physical. So it starts in the spiritual realm, in the gaseous realm, and then later we see it manifest in the physical world. And so this is our purpose, to bring forth this information, to teach the ancient truths. We will also be bringing forth new information coming into this next cycle of conceptual learning.
Yeah. And while we're doing videos, we've given lectures, different places, different states, and we've told the people, if you want a lecture, contact us. And it's small groups that have contacted us. The people, when we were lecturing, were not ready for this information. And now events are going to happen where people are going to begin asking more questions.
People will be more open to the information coming forth and looking for answers. But we'll go into this later. People will start to notice changes, and it's our job.
Beginning.
Yeah, it's our job to, kind of connect the dots and show you what's happening and why. And when you understand it and you're prepared for it, it helps to ease some of that anxiety. So we have a lot to look forward to. There are big changes coming, and some changes are they do cause stress, and because there's that factor of the unknown. So we'll try to explain it the best that we can, and just follow us on the journey. Subscribe. And be sure to hit the bell, because then when we do have a message come in, then you will be alerted to the fact that there's a video sitting there for you.
Stay strong. Stay humble. Love one another.
Meditate.
And try to be humble enough that they can use you in this time of need, but basically help each other, not just with this and what's coming, but as you see around your neighborhood and people need help them.
We want to thank you for joining us. Peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment, and come with us on this fantastic journey as we witness these events unfolding that are so unique to our times.
You all hold the ticket already to come on journey with us.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye now.